bunch back? Sorry, may I have the whole bunch back, please? May I? Can we share it? Yeah. I don't have one.
Try that.
No,
I did.
She does, but she took it back to her office. We've been sharing it today. Okay, I'm ready. Good afternoon. It is 2:02 on this fine Monday, June 13th, 2022. This is time for fiscal year 23 preliminary budget workshop for the clerk's office. I am Commissioner Smith, also present is Commissioner White and Commissioner Van Beek. And Jen and Ross is our deputy clerk for this meeting. Joining us is Clerk Yamamoto and Controller Wagner. We also have, for the record, Emily Howell, Jess Resty. I hope I probably loved it. And then Yvonne Baker. And Joe Decker just started our live stream for us. And the purpose of this is to go through the preliminary budgets, allow an opportunity for the public to watch it live or watch it in the future. We post it on our YouTube page so that they can provide input on the budget at the input meeting in July. So at this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to the clerk's office to review their budget.
thank you. Looks like we're going to start with audit, so I'll have Zach jump in.
Thank you, Clerk. Thank you, Madam Chair. The county clerk wears many hats. County clerk is the budget officer, the election officer, the clerk of the district court, the recorder, the auditor, and also oversees indigent medical services. And the discharge of those duties would not be possible without our leadership team that is here with us today. We have a fantastic team. They are subject matter experts. They know their business very well. And they're also a joy to work with. They're great people. We are blessed with a great team and appreciate all the great things that they do. So thank you very much. The first budget we have is the auditor division. And as you are aware, the county no longer has the authority to levy property tax for an indigent fund. However, the county still has indigent medical responsibilities. We still have duties, we still have responsibilities related to indigent medical services. One of those key responsibilities would be billing and collection. And also associated with that, there are occasions where there are liens placed on property. So we need to continue to bill, to collect, to monitor and oversee that. And we will be collecting monies both on behalf of the state and the county. So the very top of this document, the first page, we have budgeted $200,000 of county repayment revenue. That is related to indigent medical. So we're anticipating, we're projecting $200,000 of revenue into the county for indigent medical repayments. And we are now going to be accounting for this in the current expense fund in the auditor division of that fund. So along with that, that's income. That's new income to the current expense fund. There's also new costs associated with that. There'll be 2 employees that were previously in the indigent fund that will now be accounted for here. It's our indigent director and a case manager. We still have those indigent duties and responsibilities. We still need those individuals to assist and oversee those indigent medical functions. There are 2 additional new to this specific budget, if you will, positions.
That's why you see the approximately $100,000 increase in regular employees.
Exactly, the 512 to the 616. That's for those 2 positions.
And how long do you think the life of that program will be to collect all that money? Any idea? What the outstanding debt is?
Yvonne?
That's a good question. I don't know if
into that, years, decades.
Eons?
You know, approximately what that debt load is.
You know, I did not bring any of that information with me, I don't believe. It's millions.
More than we will ever see. However, that being said, the repayment of that has been more than I would have ever anticipated. So it's been going pretty well.
I felt like even this year, the short time I've been a commissioner, we've been seeing people refinancing loans and paying off portions and getting collections, so it's good.
Yeah, it is, last fiscal year, we did, we also collect for the catastrophic fund. And so any money that we receive, a portion goes to CAT. And last year, we brought in over $1 million. So 200,000 is modest, yes.
And Madam Chair, that 200,000, that only represents what the county keeps. The other monies go to the cap fund to the state.
And that will be a responsibility of indigent services as long as we receive repayment. A portion of that will always go to the catastrophic fund or the general fund in fiscal year 24.
This is probably, do we have any way of realizing that this will be an absolutely permanent thing for the state? In other words, are they going to find out, I mean, there's a lot to indigents and a lot, are they going to find out there's going to be parts of it that are gonna come back? I mean, they're gonna have to about face it and maybe do it with the county's help or something like that? Do we have any indication that they, this is a trial run, so to speak?
Another good question. They do anticipate doing another study, I believe in 2023, to see what the usage is through Medicaid. I don't know if they'll ever bring back indigent services or they'll just have it set up differently or try to get funding from other agencies that I'm not sure of. But I do know that they do plan to do a study on Medicaid usage.
I just personally, and it's just my personal opinion, I don't really, until they get in the thick of it, there's not gonna be a full realization of how much is involved.
Sure, and not only the medical, but also the voluntary holds
Yeah.
has also gone to the state. And so that will be a significant cost to the state.
All right, so along those lines, we've also adjusted our service contracts line. 533301, we've raised that to $62,000. There is a program, a computer arts program specific to indigent medical billing, collecting, and tracking that will be paid in this budget. The postage has gone from $100.
I'm sorry, Jack. Computer arts has been in place for a number of years, and so are you attributing the entirety of that increase to computer arts?
Previously, that was expensed from the
I see what you're
indigent
saying.
budget. So
Okay,
it's just been
gotcha.
transferred here to the auditor portion of the first
Thank
budget.
you.
Well, also along those lines, postage is now in this budget at $5,000, largely because of the billings that will be associated with repayments and collection. Another line that's changed is the association dues. That's gone from $1,500 to $7,500. And if you'll notice, the year-to-date 2022 is $6,000. That has to do with the county clerks acquiring I'm trying to think of the right word, a lobbyist to assist with property tax issues, elections issues. County clerks got together and decided to hire a lobbyist to assist those types of responsibilities and duties. And we discussed that and approved that payment earlier this year.
Yeah, and that's on which line then?
Association dues, 546620.
Commissioner Wright,
And who's that company?
I can't recall the company.
through Association of Counties.
Through the Idaho Association of Counties, a lobbyist.
Yeah, good. Yeah, both the names escape me.
Is it the guy,
Pardon?
is it that guy that works for
It was
IEC?
a guy and a gal. And they're both seasoned veterans with that. So the question would be whether that program will be continued or not. And my guess would be yes, because it was very successful. It took a lot of heat off of Bill McGreen and myself.
Okay,
Also new to the auditor portion of the budget is burial
okay,
fees.
hold on, can I be funny for just 1 second? So if we wanted to apply heat to you, we would take this back out so that you had the heat on you again?
Yeah,
And the heat is at the hot seat of legislation?
so what it did was, because of how they do things legislatively, there was periods of time where I had to basically live up there. And with this group, then I could actually be here at the county doing my job
Yeah,
and they could handle some things that I physically did not have to be there. Now, that being said, there's times when I had to be there.
and like, for example, the property tax reform, this position, because that's such a hot issue right now, we would have a boots on the ground
Yes,
lobbyist there campaigning
This-
for.
this next session, that will be very much more important than what the elections. We had 60, I believe 62 election bills last session. And so that took a lot of time, but this go around, it's gonna have a lot to do with property.
Okay. Sorry, thank you. Burials.
Burials, yes. 20,000 budgeted for burial fees. Again, those were previously budgeted under the indigent fund. The computer equipment, that is consistent with the IT recommended replacement schedule. We do have some increased costs here, but those are more than offset by what we're projecting to receive in revenue. And again, that $200,000 is revenue that the county is hopeful to receive based on indigent medical repayments. Any questions there?
Thank you.
Thank you, Lon.
Thank you.
All right, so our recorders next. We'll have Emily help us out there.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. My name is Emily Howell. Thank you guys for being here and visiting with me. Thank you. Well, I'm the supervisor of the recorder's office, and fiscal year 2021 was quite a year in the recorder's office. We actually earned a little over $2 million in revenue, which was kind of unprecedented for a really long time. And that's due in large part to all of the recordings that took place in that year. I don't suspect fiscal year 2022 to be the same as last year. And so our budgeted revenue for that time frame is going to be $1,400,000.
So you're expecting to come in under the 22 year, under the budget?
That is correct. Yeah. We haven't been seeing quite as many documents being recorded, such as mortgages and deeds, due to the lowering rate of, or the higher increase of the interest rates, as well as the higher increase of homes being purchased. A lot of the other elements that we have in our office are actually staying pretty much the same also in that time frame. So that also helped to keep it up at that point. However, passports was a little bit different. Out of the fiscal year 2021, we closed it down due to COVID and then reopened it up with appointments only. And to assist us with being able to accommodate all the other jobs that we need to do in that office.
Finish that statement though really quick.
No, go for it.
Okay, Commissioner White.
Question with regard to passports, do you have any idea how, with NAMPA having that in their clerk's office, how much of a load has that lifted any at all for,
Not really at all.
not really at all?
No, when they started, we actually saw an increase when they did start doing it. I mean, we were always increasing with the amount. Having the appointments has actually allowed us to keep them maintained as well as maintaining all of our other duties. So it's really been nice to do the passport one for updating on it.
Aren't a lot of people not getting passports anymore because you can't travel?
That's not quite true. There's a lot of people applying for passports and they're very wanting to go right away, which the federal government is not really on board with that idea. It's about 8 to 11 weeks for processing once the application meets at the location. So it's plan ahead if you guys are planning to do passports, please.
Madam Chair.
Which one? Go for Clerk Yamamoto.
So, I've mentioned this before, but our office helped Meridian and Nampa set up for passports. And so our question was, how much pressure was that taking off of us? We asked Nampa what kind of numbers they were seeing, and they wouldn't tell us. So I don't know what that's about.
You don't know.
I don't know, but at any rate, what we see, and one of the reasons we went to not only COVID, to reservations only, was that was taking up so much of our time, we were getting behind on recording. So, but Canyon County is the most popular place to come to get a passport because we do the best job. And we run more people than anybody else did. You'll remember, did Ada County, they said they were going to start back up, did they?
They did, yeah. They started last year.
But their appointment only as well. And my understanding is they're not exactly burning the place up with appointments.
No, I don't think so.
So we're still in demand.
Madam Chair, I didn't mean that they don't know. I didn't mean that the way it sounded. They just probably they had some changes and stuff like that. So probably getting everything adjusted down and with COVID and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It was, COVID was interesting. But yeah, having sitting in, but it was nice that they were there. And that was another place we could shoot public members and like, they're like, I need to go right now. And they're like, that's cool, but I don't have time for you at this point. And I'm going to look at your document, I'll look at your application. I can't at this point in time. So it's nice having them to direct them to as another opportunity.
Because they're on demand.
They are now.
And if I could, I would add that we have little incentive to actually do passports other than a service to the community, because the Fed raised their rates. While they did that, they lowered ours. So we actually make less money than we did. The monetary value is not an incentive anymore. It's strictly a service. Not that we don't, there's some income, but
Yeah.
not like it was.
Madam Chair, along those lines, there's a tremendous amount of investment of time to completing a passport. You compare the investment of time to the revenue we get that's determined by the feds, we're lucky to break even there with passports.
Because we'll get an appointment we have for an hour and we try and use that whole hour if we can. We cannot. We'll try and make it work as best we can, but a lot of times with the restrictions from the federal government of how they want the document to be as precise as possible and as accurate as possible and as clear as they can have it. It takes a long times where people coming in have to redo the application multiple times. Very rarely do we have applications that are done correctly the first time. So a lot of time.
I was in development services half the time, I just did the applications for people because it was faster and checking the work. But I'll consider it. All right. It's enabling people. So that's also known as bad habit. Okay, I don't have any other questions on passports. Anything else on recorder?
Any service contracts? Want something to change there?
Yeah, so we do have some expenses coming up. We have a change in our service contract, which is line 533301. We have an increase up to $30,000 due to Helion's increase in price, large in part to the auto indexing, which is a program that looks over the documents after they've been recorded, picks out the party names for us to assist with the expediency of our recording and searching abilities. This is also based on the number of documents that are recording on where the fees will be. Because of our increase in the number of documents that were recorded, that had to have our auto index increase by a lot, sad to say. But it is an amazing function, so I really don't want them to stop.
Okay.
One other line that we did have that would be a little bit different is the building services one, which is line 554401, which is a rollover from last fiscal year, 2021, for the fall remodel. Due to unforeseen circumstances, they weren't able to get to the remodel this year. And so we're hoping to have that done this year to ensure that the public can get their plaques and surveys provided to them in a quick and easy manner.
Madam Chair, Emily, can you talk about your postage line? You lowered that 5,000 over last year. And
A larger part of the postage was due to passports and the number of transmittals that would have to go out daily. Because of the appointment schedule, it's brought our number of applications and transmittals that have to go out, brought it down over the year. So,
Building supplies and materials, isn't that typically is found under the facilities department? How come was it here last year too?
Correct, it was here last year, and because this project is very specific to the recorder's area, the recorder's vault, we budgeted for it specifically in the recorder's budget. Depends on the building project. If it's more of a general, more of a open public type area, that can be in the facilities budget. If it's a very specific to an office or a department, we like to budget the building project in that specific office or department. Because they're the ones getting the benefit from that service.
So, but like for us, we're asking for this to be returned behind us, but that is being left in the facilities budget.
We could add it to your budget.
Madam Chair,
But if it's in his budget, then if there's carryover, it can move to other needed things that he's got savings, right?
Possibly, yes.
All right, Commissioner Van Dijk?
I did ask Greg, and that's the way that Paul did it too, and it's my understanding for departments under the board, that that's just where that's been housed, that he would speak more about, but historically hasn't that always been kept in facilities for our projects?
I think it's kind of on a project by project basis, depending on the nature of the project.
Madam Chair, I have another question for Emily.
Okay.
Do you have any specific budgeted projects for your small office and office furniture lines, or is that just?
Yes, we have public chairs that the public will sit down either to wait or sit at our desk that we assist. We purchased them back in 2014, and we've tried to modify them so that they can continue to be in use. However, there's lack of modifications for some and are needing to be replaced.
How many are you replacing?
2 at this point in time.
And that's in your office furniture?
Correct.
And then your small office equipment, do you have designated projects for that?
No, I do not. It would be if something broke, like, sorry.
No, that's fine. Just curious, thank you.
We have each station has a small label printer and a scanner,
Right.
those type of pieces of equipment that need to be replaced on an ongoing basis and then paid for out of that line.
Can I confirm there's no training being considered for recorder staff?
Not that is fee-based. We get free online training.
Sweet.
We'll take it.
Heck yeah. All right. Anything else on the recorder's budget?
No.
No?
All right.
Thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Call clerks?
Hi, Commissioners.
Hi.
First off, I wanted to just say I haven't been in here since the remodel. I like the new dig, so it's very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm not, as you guys know, you've seen me a few times now, I'm not the greatest public speaker, but I'm a much better public reader. So I like to get my thoughts on paper before. So I just wrote a little something really quickly to kind of encapsulate everything that's, or at least highlight a few things that are in my budget. So I'll go ahead and start reading that now. If you have any questions or need to interrupt, feel free. I would like to start by thanking you for your time and for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Canyon County Court Clerk's Office. I know your time is valuable, so I'll try to be brief in outlining a few of our more important items in regards to our budgetary request for this upcoming fiscal year, 2023. One of the first requests that I'd like to bring to your attention is our request for several position control numbers to be reclassified. We currently have 5 court support clerk positions. We would like change to clerk 1 positions. We also have 4 clerk 2 positions we would like to reclassify into clerk 3s. The court support clerk positions no longer accurately represent the clerical work accomplished by these team members. The position has evolved greatly since our transition to a more paperless system and now much more closely reflects work done by our clerk 1s. Rather than spending entire days scanning documents, these clerks' daily responsibilities now include digital transferring of files between our archival software systems and our current case management system, processing exhibits, judgment preparation for hearings, and outgoing mail preparation, in addition to document scanning. For the reclassification of clerk 2 positions to clerk 3s, we believe that clerks who fill these roles are worthy and deserving of a promotion to a clerk 3 position, yet we have none to use. All these position updates will draw us near to our future goal of amending our job descriptions to better reflect the nature and knowledge needed for each clerk level. With the assistance of our HR representative, we anticipate having a very well thought out, reworked slate of job descriptions ready for the next fiscal budget and to present them to the Board of County Commissioners around this time next year. A secondary matter of note in our budget spreadsheet this year are the line items for capital construction and building supplies and materials. These 2 line items are being rolled over from the current fiscal year as projects we have had prior approval for, but unfortunately will be unable to get completed before the end of September. The smaller projects include a rework to the entryway of 114, additional cabinetry for our supervisors and leads, and a remodel to the kitchen and behind room 201. The main capital construction project will be the removal of the vault on the 3rd floor. This will provide much needed room to then add desks for our in-court clerks. Each of these items has been discussed with the Director of Facilities and Maintenance and the budgetary costs have been adjusted to account for inflation. Lastly, I'd just like to highlight the court clerk's largest area of importance and impact. And that's over the last 2 years, we have seen an uncharacteristically high amount of turnover in personnel. As an organization, we have tried many things to combat this issue. We've evaluated and revamped our interview and onboarding process, extended training time with extra one-on-one instruction, and frequent potlucks and interdepartmental events with the purpose of maintaining our strong work culture are just a few of our efforts. Unfortunately, our struggles remain. Through many difficult conversations and exit interviews, there's always been one common factor with the staff we are unable to retain, and that's compensation. With the increasingly stressful everyday cost of living, a treacherous housing market, and skyrocketing fuel costs, with no clear signs of relief coming soon, I truly believe that a moderate bump in salaries is the only way to help our workforce situation. The clerk's office truly wishes to serve Canyon County in an efficient, accurate, and friendly manner. It is with your annual budgetary decisions that we attempt to do this to the best of our abilities. Thank you again for your time and considerations to the requests we have made for the fiscal year 23.
Madam Chair.
Really quick, how many employees have you lost? Because the clerk actually, like his turnover, which falls under you, is really low compared to other offices.
Yeah, I mean, just in year 21, I think we were at 32 and out of around 90 positions.
I think like 2020 and 2021, like everyone had turnover.
Sure.
But has it leveled off?
So far this year, I think we are at 7 or 8.
Is that would mean that you've lost all the employees for the clerk.
Yeah, we definitely lost a large portion. I mean, I can't speak to what the other departments have
You've
lost.
only had 8 total.
Yeah, we're at least at 6.
A large majority of our numbers of personnel would be in the court clerk's area,
That have been lost.
or just in general.
Oh, your largest volume of employees falls under the.
Far and away.
Yeah.
Under Jess and the court clerks.
And then on the turnover report for how long positions have been empty, the only one, I mean, all of the ones for the court clerk have been they have been filled, except for one, which is a court clerk 2, which hasn't been filled since 2002. That'll be the one that you guys should look at.
2002.
703 court clerk 2.
Yeah, so we do have one clerk 2 that's been available. I don't know, maybe, I mean, I was under the assumption that it was one that was granted to me last year, but I've been holding that one position just for the hopes that an applicant with in-court experience applies, because our greatest need for employees is in court. And as far as in court is concerned, we, rather than pulling someone off the street with experience, the only other way that we can put someone in court is once they've done the process of becoming a file clerk and learning the entry level work of the court clerk. Only then can we elevate them to in court unless they've had experience outside. So I've kept one clerk 2 position open just for, hopes that golden child will appear.
That makes sense, that if it was reprinted last year and then they took that PCN number and restarted it, and so then the last time it was filled was maybe 2002?
Could be the case where it was existed in 2002, it was then unfunded
Yeah.
for 20 years, refunded again at the start of this fiscal year.
That's what I just said, but I said it not like you. But I agree with you. That's probably what that is.
Madam Chair.
Should I maybe?
Just, I'm looking at your lines under meals, mileage, hotel, airfare. So for 21 and 22, those had nothing, and then you've got roughly 15,000. So what are your plans there?
Yeah, so there's basically two major events that the court clerks try to get to every year. One being an event at Tyler Technologies, which is the company that runs and distributes our major case management system, Odyssey. They do like a conference once a year that we try to go to, and then the other is ICCM, which is like the Idaho Clerks conference that usually happens in Boise. The last 2 years we did not attend either. Obvious reasons, it's COVID. I think last minute Tyler Technologies ended up doing their conference this year. We didn't really have the staff in place for me or other administration to go. Also, it was in Indianapolis, and it's not very exciting. So, interesting to go.
So is this local conference dollars that you allocated, is that your costs are based on, and then did you break it out per employee on your costs?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I broke it down there, just in kind of in our estimations and our numbers, we expected to maybe send 4 people as far as to the Tyler Technologies one, which is upcoming years in Austin, Texas, I want to say. And then ICCM has been really strange the past few years. As far as this current year, in 22, they initially were going to have people go to Boise and actually attend the conference, and then the very last minute they decided, no, we better not do it. We'll do it virtual, so we didn't end up going. So I don't know exactly how many people we would send to the one locally, but whatever the budget allocated, we would be able to make that work.
And are you gonna have a placeholder somewhere to show what the costs are? I mean, I'm assuming you can get that when it's available. If you do some research.
Yeah, as far as, yes, ma'am. So as far as the Tyler Technologies one, they do like they'll once it gets closer to the conference, they send over how much the tickets would be, and then obviously that's when we do our research as far as hotel accommodations, flight accommodations, stuff like that.
Okay, and you could probably guesstimate on your flight arrangements and things like that. It's probably good to look at those and figure out what your costs are, given that those are going up to.
Yes, for sure.
And I had a question for you on interpreter fees. So 548012, that is going up 81,000. And
Not going up, but from what they, because the amended amount was 135, so they're keeping it.
and that's
Exactly the same.
And that's not, if you look at the actual spending for 21 and 22, and has Grace ever attended and presented here for interpreter fees? I know she does a really good job.
I don't believe that she's ever attended as far as the budget meeting is concerned, but she's the person that I consult directly for that number. She did, and I think kind of the nature of the interpreter fee line is it's difficult to predict, mostly in the fact that, we have certain trials that are, pending or they have the possibility of going that could just in themselves take up a fourth of that budget line. So that, for example, the reason that it sits at around 135 is based on the fact that we currently still have a case that is going to involve several Chinese interpreters that we don't have locally. And if that case ever does end up going to trial, we've been waiting on it for a while now, but if it does end up going to trial, Grace did estimate that it could cost us anywhere close to $60,000 just for that one case with all the interpreter fees.
So this was the number that she provided?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I know she's worked really hard to reduce those costs, and year over year, she's gotten a significant amount reduced on that.
Yeah,
Just because of her timing and coordinating with interpreters.
I could not say enough good things about Grace, honestly. I defer to her in all questions when it comes to the interpreter department. She's incredible. She saves us so much money by being able to take on a lot of the caseload herself.
Yes, and Lou does seem to do a great job negotiating that. So if you can jump to the office supplies line, so your actuals for 2 years are a third of what you're requesting and what was budgeted last year. So that's it. It's up over 19,000 on what the actuals are for that. What's in there?
What was the line item again?
This is number office supplies 551010.
Oh, yeah. I think we like to stay around the same. I think it's been the same, right, for several years. for office supplies.
Right, but how much are you spending of that historically?
Um,
What's the trend on that?
I don't know the exact trend. I mean, I'm most comfortable with having, because of the nature of office supplies, and I guess you never know, the volume of miscellaneous things and how quickly they add up. So I think that number has worked for us the past few years. Yeah, I couldn't speak to exactly the trend over how much exactly over the past several years.
Exactly, have a 3 or 5 year average.
Well, let's see, in 2021, the actual was 10,600, and in 2020, it was 14,000.
And then 2022 year to date is 10,000.
Correct.
And if that's on par, then what's that projected number at the end of this fiscal year?
Around 13,000.
Even if you put it at 20,000, that would, what did you say your 2020 number was?
14,000.
So you could reduce that by 10,000 and still be well under your high number for 3 years.
I would feel comfortable doing that. That wouldn't be a problem.
And then just on your 554401 building supplies, I'm looking at that in conjunction with your capital construction line. So what I heard you say was that you're going to rework the entryway, you're going to remove a vault, and you're going to remodel the kitchen area. Is there another project in there?
Yes, so with the building supplies and materials, those projects would be the entryway to 114, not just down the hall here. And then the kitchenette behind room 201 on the second floor. And then, what was the third one?
The vault?
The vault actually falls under capital construction, so that would be a $40,000 line item, and that's on the third floor.
And that includes the rebuild, everything goes back into.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah, and we've had a lot of success with having facilities that build the actual desks and everything. So all of that would go into that capital construction line item.
Okay, and then how many people will that accommodate?
We're expecting to at least fit 8 extra desks inside of that space, which would be terrific.
Thank you. And then, I'm sorry, I'm sure one more question on your office furniture. You reduced that line, so that should take care of your desks for the needs, because that's already included in your capital construction line.
Yeah, so basically that would be, chairs, which, can add up fairly quickly, and then other miscellaneous, office furniture.
Thank you.
And you've shared these numbers with facilities, and they're aware of the projects and have the time for them?
Yes, Madam Chair, yeah, Rick Britton and I have had many discussions about our future plans and the plans these were plans that we've had from last year. And we're in constant contact about things that he's going to have time for, things he's going to be available for, and he thinks he should be able to accommodate my requests in this next year.
Okay. Any final questions on the first of the court budget? A lot of human capital. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elections.
Here we go. So for the record, because it's being streamed, elections get split into 2 budgets, right? Does anyone get to explain that for the viewers?
Madam Chair, there are 2 separate accounting entities for election activities. There's the Consolidated Elections Fund. The county receives money from the state to assist with carrying out elections for other taxing districts. So that is one bucket of money. We also have the regular elections budget under current expense. In prior years, we've tried to separate those printing out wise, and we're constantly flipping back and forth. So for ease of discussion today, we've combined them into one for your printout.
Oh,
So this is both sides of the
Combined.
election budget combined.
so that's great. So then for the future viewers, it would be split in half.
It's basically split in half.
Okay. All right. Housekeeping,
Okay.
you're up.
All right, Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for your time today. My name is Haley Hicks. I'm the election supervisor. I first just wanted to go over how proud I am of the Canyon County Elections team, and I am very proud to be a part of that. I have extremely dedicated staff to the point where I almost have to push them out the door in order to get them to go home. They are with me every step of the way. If I'm stuck, they try and be stuck with me. But I couldn't ask for a better team, and they put their heart, blood, sweat, tears. They are beaten, battered, obviously emotionally, because physically we'd have a lot more on record. But no matter what, they come back. They don't threaten to leave. They don't say, I'm done, good luck, sayonara, I don't have to be here, 5 o'clock is here and I'm done. They are always there with us. Since I have stepped into the position as the election supervisor, I have not seen turnaround, and I know that office has seen quite a bit of turnaround prior to me coming in. I don't take that as something that I've done. I just feel like we finally gotten to a point where we have a team that everybody gets along, everybody understands each other, we know how each other works. On top of that, I believe I probably spend more time with these individuals than my own family, so I feel like I've just gained a family along with them. We have actually become a county that is a resource to the counties in Idaho, and as the clerk has stated multiple times, he lost most of the knowledge when a lot of the prior staff had left. So we went from, I don't have the numbers to be exact, but over 20 years of knowledge combined to
No, way more than
that to
that. To
two. And we have worked hard. We've looked at statute. We've reviewed as much as we possibly could. We pretty much looked at everything as if we're starting it from step one and learning it across the way, because our Secretary of State's office has seen a lot of turnaround as well and lost a lot of that historical knowledge that they had. So it was kind of, we got to keep this boat flowing. So we're going to keep paddling and figuring it out, and statute has been our best friend. We have actually had multiple counties call us and ask how we have streamlined the process to the point where we are doing what we're doing, and with like some of the information forms that we use that we've created just to be able to track things ourselves. And so when I say I'm proud, I don't even think that's the best word to use. I am ecstatic to be part of such a wonderful team. We just had she was the deputy clerk, but she is going to be clerk come January, call us yesterday asking every step of our process from Kootenai County, just so that way they can streamline and bring their processes up to work and be more conducive, and their accuracy and everything to that extent, and talk to us for quite a bit. So, like I said, to say I'm proud is to the least. We have definitely been to battle this year. I will say this was probably one of the more exhausting years. I thought 2020 was it, but 2020 kind of just set the marker, and we've been running this race since. We haven't had much time to really take a break or go to the restroom. We've gone from redistricting right into a March election while we're doing redistricting, turn around, come out of the March election, continue redistricting, and hit May deadlines right along with it because they tie together. The hardest part about elections is we are so unique that not everyone, and I would say there's a high majority, understands truly what our office does and what our office is about. I would say if you went around and said, hey, I'm going to be part of an elections crew, your first answer is going to be, what are you going to do other than 4 days out of the year? Or what are you going to do out of 1 day out of every 4 years? There's so much I did not even realize. I came from a background of medical, and
school district in Nevada, and I thought that I didn't have time then. I have now been taught that there is more than you can do than you ever imagined. And so, not to talk your ears off about it, but the problem with elections is the lack of understanding in what we do. And we are ran by statute. So if statute says it's due tomorrow, I can't say, I'm sorry, I missed the deadline. That puts the county in a lawsuit that puts us in a bad place. So we have to just keep moving. There's no choice. Even when we present to legislature things that could definitely help us meet deadlines and have more time to really go through the steps of what we need to do, it's not even understood from that standpoint. Canyon County is one of the only counties that has an election every 4 election cycles every year. So there's not a lot of time for voter outreach. There's not a lot of time to, fix certain organizations that we would love to fix. It's pretty much run along and do everything while you're running. And so the other thing that I wanted to highlight before I got into our election budget was May 2022. I know that it appeared that we took an extremely long amount of time to finish count. We were the first county in the entire state of Idaho to finish and report compared to all 44. To me, that is huge because we did take our time, we prepared for the potential post-election audit, as well as a potential if there was a recount because the primary was pretty hot and heavy everywhere, first in the state. We have not done that. I don't know if anybody remembers the article from the Press Tribune about Canyon County kind of being the laughing stock of the counties because we finished well after midnight and everybody else was done, but we finished first. And to me, that is just a tremendous accomplishment for our team. We weren't able to post in between, but that's because we were just going at it, keeping the organization, and we've been impounded since election night in the fact of if there was an audit and if there was a recount. So we were just trying to prepare and also show the voters as much transparency as possible and let them know that we were doing everything in our power to be a county that they can be proud of. Some of it does take longer because you have to be meticulous, pay attention to detail, but in the end, we want them to be proud to vote in Canyon County. So that's what I have there. So there's a couple of items where we did need an increase, and over time, we did have to increase on that. The county is just booming, and with a staff of 5, it requires hours and hours to get some of these done by the statute outlined deadlines. And so we put an increase to that. We have a couple items coming up that I foresee we will need more overtime for. For instance, the Napa City Council, due to their growth, they have to redraw boundaries and have commissioners and be voted on. Instead of at large, they will be voted by those different city council commissioner boundaries. And then we also have this November election coming up based off May. I think this is going to be a pretty busy November election, but then we run right into the next following year where we have even more to go. The increase in the next item, which would be the temporary line item 413060, the poll workers who start to get to $600 in a calendar year have to be put on our ADP payroll versus paying them through the poll worker line item. And therefore, I increased that because with offsite early voting and the assistance we need, a lot of the poll workers' expenses are coming out of the temporary budget versus the election worker budget, which was 522205. Actually, that's for our end of night. I'm sorry. Our poll worker budget is, bear with me, 548211. And so I actually decreased that budget since a lot of it is coming out of temporary. The majority of our poll workers tend to return. Those are some of our veterans. But I didn't want to decrease it too much, only because we do need to do an outreach for poll workers as well. We would like to open up more facilities to balance out our population. In order to do that, we have to have teams. Right now we have teams, but in May, what we found was we were short and could have used a lot more help when it came. I can load a facility full of machines, but if I don't have anybody to run them, then you find backup. For instance, the controllers, I could put 20 controllers in there, but if I don't have 20 poll workers to scan a barcode and issue that ballot access to the machine, you got a backup there. And so I did decrease it. I just didn't want to decrease it to the point where I left us needing money in that area. The line item 522205, which would be election worker. This covers individuals who help in our office for election day and night. We have added district judges, which has helped us tremendously because of us only being 5 full-time staff. These are poll workers who have gained the knowledge and retained the knowledge to be able to go out and be an extension to us and check that it's operating well. If there's any issues, say we have a brand new chief judge that isn't getting off real well, kind of rocky, they're not opening polls or something's happening, I can have a district judge go sit with them for an hour, make sure that they're running smoothly before they leave. Or if, you know, if somebody gets sick or something like that. So it's an extension to our office without leaving our office completely vacant while we're out running in the field. What's my next item we're going to? So if you look at item 533310, the cost increase is due to higher printing volume for ballots and growth in the county. So with the hard equipment, we actually use our copier. Our copier is, the contract is based off the amount of clicks. That is what IT refers. I'm assuming every time it ticks up on how many we print, that's what a click would be. That has gone up. We actually went over this year, and it's due to us printing ballots with that machine. So I increased that budget to make sure that we are well within the cost of what it costs to operate our printer and the maintenance and how much we are printing off of there. Line item 534409. This is an increase due to rate increases. U-Haul has been a hit or miss. They use, November is actually one of the most elections that make me nervous when it comes to using U-Haul for our delivery, because UPS and Amazon also contract with them, and I think that they must get priority over us. So a lot of the times we will request, okay, we need 4 26-foot trucks. We end up with 1 26-footer and 3 20-footers or something to that extent. I have tried and emailed every single moving company between Boise and Caldwell to see if they would be interested in a contract in helping us with delivery, and explained our needs, and I did not even receive one response back. So I think delivery is going to be ran by us whether we like it or not. But with that, go ahead.
That's pretty significant. How many delivery trucks do you need?
To be comfortable, 4. And it would be 4 26-footers. If they were bigger, it would be better. But what we end up usually is with 20-foot trucks. And so, for instance, May is a good example. They didn't give us the trucks that we requested. And that is why on election night, we needed to go to Celebration with one of the 20-foot trucks. And thanks to Ricky, he let us borrow a couple of the maintenance crew. We loaded Celebration that night and brought it back. So we had room to be able to get all of the other equipment because it was an early voting site, so we delivered that first. And so on top of that, I'm currently working with them because their rates increased tremendously, but I wasn't notified. And so that is something I'm working with on them right now after looking at the credit card. So we used to pay anywhere from $2.75 to $3.25 per truck with a mileage rate of 40 cents. what it's looking like they charged us this last election was anywhere between 600 to 700 with a mileage rate of 99 cents.
Is there any, like, that's significant on an increase?
Yes, it
Like,
is.
there are trucks in the county, and for a one night, have we ever like worked with waterways or anyone to coordinate?
I think the hardest part when it comes to election delivery is because of the amount of equipment that we send out. We load the Friday before the election. It's secured in fleet throughout the weekend. We deliver Monday, and then we go and we pick up Wednesday. So I think part of the issue is they don't want to secure the trucks over the weekend, and they don't want to leave their trucks with us over the weekend. And then it takes them from a Friday to a Wednesday. Granted, they can come and pick them up Tuesday and use them all day as long as we have them first thing Monday or first thing Wednesday morning. But what the majority of them, they don't want to let us use the trucks that long. The
You're
one,
asking for $75,000 more for something that's an inconvenience for people, it feels like.
it's, so the reason I kept the money in there was if I could secure a contract. I did have one company that I was able to get on the phone, and with the rates that they were telling me, my fear was if we were able to secure a contract and I didn't have the money in there, we would not be able to afford to secure the contract. They wanted 167 per one spot to the next. So 167 to come from their office to our office, and then 167 to go from our office to the next polling location, 167 from that location to this location. And then on top of that, add mileage. And if it was more than one day, they had another item. So one trip would have cost well over $15,000. Obviously, I do not want to pay that.
Have we ever done an RFP besides asking delivery companies?
We have not. It was one route I was trying to go. My first step was to email out and see if I could get anybody to bite. The only company from prior years, and I would have to look farther more into it, that was actually willing to do it, is we can ask Hart for delivery service as part of our contract with Hart, but they use a company that is the same as Ada County, and they told us that Ada County inundates them on election day, so if our election dates are the same as Ada County, they cannot take on our business. But at this
We are almost
point,
at, well, we're out of time, so we need to keep going on.
Okay.
I think that's just dramatic, and maybe we need it, I don't know, but
I mean,
it's big.
we have to deliver either way, and I have to have the money to do something. I can tell you that every election, I don't have a crew. I'm lucky if I have a crew to drive the trucks. I don't have trucks, or I have trucks that were given to me, but they're not the right size. I cannot do it anymore. There have been times where I've loaded my personal truck and went and set up O'Connor Fieldhouse with over 70 machines with my children. So it's hard. It's not an easy thing. But I do what I have to do for elections. So I'm just trying to get the money that we can to bring that burden off of us and have something that's secure.
I get it.
Okay. So, I lost my place. For line item 535501, I worked with Ricky on new desks. This is something that I've had in our budget for several years. They have not been able to get down there to finish this project. If you've been to our office, you'll see that we're on desks that were created for typewriters, and they're using folding plastic picnic tables for their desk extensions for workspace. With as much time as we have people in our office and the media on top of the amount of data entry hours we have, we really need something that is ergonomic and will not put our employees appearing to need walkers after a 15-hour day because they're so stiff from not having ergonomically correct desks and chairs. The other part of that is doing a renovation to our other side of the office so that early voting is not so cramped and we don't have the bottleneck of that one door. And an office for myself, which leads into where I was going to ask for an additional position for an election specialist and a change to one of the election specialist jobs to a lead election specialist. I need more assistance within the duties that I have myself, but they also need some help as well. We are all stretched extremely thin. And with the amount of temps that we're using to make up for what we don't have as an office, I am unable literally to finish a train of thought before I'm stopped, asked a question, have to answer, and then start again. And so an office where I can actually work on budget or I can do things that I cannot be interrupted would be ideal. And we definitely need to renovate the office for the early voting side to make it the flow better. If that's what we're going to have. A new building would be amazing, but I don't see a building that's opening to us or negotiating with us at this time.
Okay, I gotta back up on the polling place. Is there, I feel like there were polling places that we used to have and the amount that we pay for that is so low. If we increase that, would that help us
No.
obtain? No?
No.
That's not how it works.
Okay,
No.
is then the goal, I mean, we were working this year on finding a new building for elections. So
That
do
would
we
be a
still,
major goal.
so we still wanna work on that?
That's coming up in the budget right away.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sorry, I'm trying to hurry, it's just, to finish out what I was saying is I was also asking if we can, I don't know what the correct word is, and I apologize for lack of better terms. I would like to ask for my position to be put as a director position so that I can have a staff that can concentrate on the elections, have the elections still being conducted the same manner, but we also need to focus on voter outreach. And I need to be able to do meetings that help voters understand the machines, help understand the changes going on. And I also need to be able to do some items that have administrative without trying to balance that and working with customer service problems, temp staff, everything going to that extent. When I first started, I had no experience. I completely understand being a supervisor, but I feel at this point I've gained enough experience. I've worked with enough people that community outreach, making partnerships with the community to hopefully secure more facilities for polling locations and helping our voters understand our process is going to be tremendously better for the voters here in Canyon County and the citizens.
Okay, you're almost done. Get to that last line.
Okay. I lost,
350 for office buildings.
I'm sorry.
And so page
Last
2,
page,
Page
office
2.
building, computer equipment.
So computer equipment was suggested by IT for new PCs. They said they have a 5-year turnaround and that we are up to have new
that one's
computers.
fine. So that one is your 8750. Your computer equipment and office building under the new line items. That would be for the IT infrastructure upgrades for the new building. 70,000.
70,000. Can you give me the budget line? I apologize.
So
I'm looking.
that's for computer equipment, for duos, controller, setting up a new.
Batch date 4240.
Yeah,
So, what we're looking at not only is the population growing, as we all know in Canyon County, there's more voters, the percentage of voting is going up. My suggestion is that we buy 70,000 buys a complete line of equipment for voting, every segment. That's 70,000. My suggestion is, given the growth that we're having, is that probably each year, unless something changes, that we go with that kind of a program just to keep up with what's going on with population.
So it's additional voting systems from Hart.
Yes.
So it's an expansion.
And then the 350,000 I threw in there is, in the event we could find something. By the way, we're back in talking to the building I don't want to mention again, finally. I have serious doubts where that's actually going to get this work. I have another location in Nampa that I'm interested in, that we're just starting on. Anyway, I just threw a number in there as a placeholder to if we can do something. We, having early voting at the elections office is just, that's not working. we need to do something else. Celebration, that's great if they remain the same. I'm a little bit worried about their remodel and what's gonna happen there. They're assuring us that everything's gonna be okay, but, I think that remains to be seen, so.
They don't want to lease out a permanent kind of new elections office there.
Well, they've talked to us about allowing us to do early voting and election day there every time. However, the area we use, they're remodeling. And I'm not confident, they're saying no problem, but I'm not confident that's gonna work out. At any rate, if it does, we'll be there. But we need a Caldwell location too, so hence I put the 350,000 in there. Is that enough? I don't know. If it's too much, I don't know. Will it happen at all? My guess is in the next year, probably not, but I'd like to have the option.
Okay, any final questions? Thank you, Haley. Sorry to rush. Is there any other numbers that we should be aware of in your office?
I believe that's it.
I sent you the turnover report, and really the only long old one was the court clerk that we brought up. There's a controller position from 2018.
The guy's worthless.
But why does it show empty? You're there.
I was
Did you
there.
fill the chief position?
Chief deputy is the PC at Avalon now.
So then do you still have this open position in your budget then to replace you?
Yes,
Are you gonna do that?
we've talked about doing that. It's still included in the budget at present.
So, because you are the chief deputy for the clerk, so I shouldn't call you the controller anymore?
You may call me controller or chief deputy. I wear both hats.
Okay, Commissioner White?
A follow-up to Haley, on your becoming the director.
Yeah.
Is that a title change only? You would move, is that a lateral move only? She just changes the title for her? Or does that include a new pay? Okay,
That would be both title and pay.
okay.
When will we get changes like that provided?
Well, if that is approved, then it will be provided before the start of the new fiscal year.
Well, like the information for review for the commissioners and the public, if we wanted to see what those amounts and job changes, and that would be for the clerk of the courts too, if he had changes, when would those
So
be provided?
they're in here, their dollar amounts are included on the new / reclassified line item.
And those details are in the notes?
Yes,
Did you print those and, or I can go ahead and print them, but,
they're available in PowerPoint.
okay. All right, we're gonna roll right into the assessors meeting. And thank you, everybody, thank you, appreciate it. For the record, Assessor Spender is here and Chief Deputy Cox is joining him for the assessor's budget. Did you bring printed copies by chance? No? You do?
4-3.
Thank you, Chief Deputy Wagner. Thank you. You, what we would call a twofer, we get a 2-for-1.
2 for 1.
Or
That's me,
a
yes.
twofer.
2 for.
Two. All right. Take it away.
Thank you for having us, commissioners. Clerk Yamamoto and Controller, Chief Deputy,
There we go.
Master of all trades, Mr. Wagner.
Just don't call me mayor.
That's probably
Your
confusing,
brother.
because I believe I've heard that. You called that. Okay, so this year, I'm starting with the DMV motor vehicle portion. Really the only, or the big chunk of that budget increase is, I would like to reclassify the positions out there and update their job descriptions. I think that they are more in line with what the treasurer's office pays, what Tracy pays her employees. I felt this way for several years, and I've been waiting for some stability in the HR office. And I believe we have a new person, so.
She just started today. We haven't gotten to see her yet, but
Yeah, I haven't seen her either,
she's
but
here.
office is kind of busy, so. I'm hoping to begin that project with her soon, so I put extra money in the budget for that. I believe that there was a copy included on the back page. May have not needed to include names, so we could have just left that with positions instead of having the people's names attached to it. But in reclassifying and using step and grade positions for the motor vehicle clerks, using that pay scale, that's on the far left, you will see the far right, excuse me, you'll see the adjustment per position. Supervisor role positions, I use Ada County, the current classification for the positions over there. I believe I used 80 or 85% of what they're paying for those similar positions in Ada County.
And is this again, you're referencing the reappraisal, and then you pulled off your, is that the one we're on?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Bendy, actually Department of Motor Vehicles.
Okay, all right. I just needed to know, you had 4 handouts and you want earlier this week.
Oh, yeah. If you'll reference the one Zach handed you, it's on the last page of that one. Page 8.
I have reappraisal with titling that, and then I have what I just printed off is the DMV title registration. So I'm not sure on the same page.
We're on the DMV title and registration.
Okay. And all I'm saying is that this, what Zach just gave me has reappraisal rate adjustments as my last page.
Brian just said it's on page 8.
Oh, and I stapled mine all together with you, sir. That's my
On page 8 of what I just.
page 8, yeah.
Gotcha, thank you. Now we're there.
As you all should be aware, ITD moved away from an old legacy system October 11th or 13th of 2021, actually 2020. We got past COVID, the initial onslaught of COVID, and then they rolled us out a new program. And it's getting better, but now they are taking away the e-lead transactions. They redirected the mail to go to their office. They are mailing out our internet and QR code renewals for us currently. We're still getting in the revenue, but starting October 1st, 2022, we won't be receiving the revenue for the internet transactions or the QR code transactions. So at that point in time, you all did ask for how we were calculating our admin fee. And apologizing in advance for providing that, but we're waiting for more information to come in so we have a better idea of what we would adjust that admin fee to as we get closer to the fiscal year starting. They are also in the legislature 2 years ago. It was ran, a bill was ran and passed in the law that will allow a third-party vendor to title and register vehicles right at the dealership. I'm sure we have some larger dealers, some of our larger dealers may be interested in doing that, and that will also cut into the transactions and the revenue stream of our office out there. So what that means is we are being left with lower amount of funding and a higher amount of transactions that are more challenging take longer to complete. And so we're going to have to adjust our revenue stream to accomplish our goals, to be able to provide timely service to our constituents that still use our DMV facility.
Sorry, but it's, so then does that mean, because your administration fee, we're talking about that section right now, right? So then you're gonna ask for an increase in those fees,
We will definitely ask for an increase in the fees.
hence the reason to budget for a higher amount.
That's correct. And then,
So, just sorry to clarify, but for the public that could be watching this, we're not, today's a preliminary hearing, the board would need to approve those fees, so by giving any recommendation, we're not giving a preconceived approval on that.
and then there's other factors going into it. We're going to be looking at transaction times and our staffing level as well. Through attrition, we may give up 2 or 3, possibly 4 positions, depending on what the service load is that we have. And we're catching up skilled employees.
Right. And do you think that those proposed increases will fall in line with something similar that we looked at a year ago, but didn't pass?
That's a great question. I think it will be similar. We're tracking what the shift is between mail-in, walk-in, and the internet and QR. With COVID, there was a huge shift of transaction methods. We used to have a lot of, I think it was about 80% of the transactions used to be walk-in customers out of our DMV. With COVID, everybody got used to the internet. Right off the bat, saw a massive increase in that. It's easy, you do it from anywhere. I was on the news saying you do it from your couch at lunch or something.
I did it.
Yeah, man, it shows up, but it took those easy ones to offset the longer time-consuming transactions to keep the cost down.
Right.
So we will be reviewing that. There will be a nice presentation of transaction counts and how we're coming up with that.
And will that happen before this budget year starts?
Madam Chair, that's correct. Definitely that'll happen.
Awesome.
Just for reference, I believe Ada County's admin fee was either $275 or $325 a year ago. Less than a year ago, they increased that to, I believe, $5. And I talked to their DMV administrator, and they're looking at increasing it to $9.50.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Maybe?
and is that just a number that you can use to offset your costs, or is there a statute to go with that? How does that work on?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Levy, there is two statutes that relate to that, and it is a portion of the cost. I can increase I don't have the exact verbiage in my mind right now or about the statute, but there is a statute related to that we can adjust fees to offset the cost of operations.
So even though they're taking things away theoretically, you can still adjust the cost to meet your needs.
That's correct. Madam Chair, Commissioner Levy, that's correct. And the way we believe that it's set up is the DMV should support itself, should be supporting property tax dollars. So the fees should offset the cost of operation of it.
Okay.
Is that your opinion, Zach?
My opinion is that we should have a good handle on what it costs to provide the service. And then we charge a fee to make sure that we're covering the full cost of providing the service.
I think all of us in the same thing.
We all agree. Okay.
Outside of that, the fees are pretty much the same fees that we've had historically. Didn't do a lot of changes for the rest of the budget.
I will say, I think that it was smart to propose to change your positions in customer service more in line with the specific job duty, so that we can address the employment needs specifically related to you and
I appreciate that. We've had a lot of turnover, and it's challenging to rehire someone, skill sets, and retain them after we've gotten them trained when they're leaving. It sets us back a bit.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Randy?
So for both the reappraisal and the D&D, you're saying that you've already calculated the min-max, and then the adjusted salary ranges for those is what's total there on the side, that 198,000 for D&D.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Beek, that's correct. Using the positions that I felt are fairly similar, I used the pay scale, the current pay scale, and put numbers in the budget for both of those departments, both of those offices, moving away from the customer service into motor vehicle and assessor clerk positions.
And again, you said this is based on a comparison of Ada County, and you're within 85%.
That was just for the two supervisor positions at the DMV, and the other positions are within similar positions within the county.
I see, yes. Okay, thanks for the clarification.
All right.
What was that overall at the health insurance? What was the overall raise in that?
The, Madam Chair, Commissioner White, for the employer, the county's contribution, we haven't changed the county's contribution to the health insurance program for many years. We've been able to hold that steady, constant.
Great.
And I would add, we haven't asked the employees either to increase their contribution. We've been able to hold the line.
Okay. Thank you.
I just have to tell you for the record, I have to leave at 4 o'clock. And so anything you want me to be a part of, we need to try and get through in half an hour. Sorry.
Any questions on the rest of the DMV?
Those were the major changes.
That primary major change was we were going away from fighting for a building with all the uncertainty in the future. I am stepping back from that. We'll continue to have one location and do it to the best of our abilities. Once the dust settles on what the revenue is going to be or the transactions that come through the office, we'll reassess in the future.
Perfect. I'm supportive.
Madam Chair, one quick question on the EMP temporary employee line item. We've been using that, so we're currently using that, I believe. There's nothing currently budgeted in 2023, but unless I overlooked something. Would you like to budget that for that temporary line? I think.
Zach, I think we are going to run with part-time people. We're looking to do shift out of a temporary position for 5 months and then use a couple part-timers to come through the peak hour of the day. Okay. We're going to have a different outlook on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question.
You know, we have a position funded called case manager that hasn't been filled since 2020. Do you know what that position is?
Pardon me?
You have a position called case manager. The PCN is 577. It hasn't been funded since December of 2020. Do you know what that is?
So this is going to be off the cuff, but it must be a position that helps with the mental stability of my team with the DMV with all the people we see every day. I don't think that's my budget.
That sounds like an indigent position. There were case manager positions in.
Got it listed under the assessor, but we'll have to ask.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a case manager position. The only thing that I could see needing a case manager for is if we had a truckload of appeals come in the next couple of weeks and we have to have somebody scheduled to organize all of them.
Well, sign up.
Okay. All right, motor vehicles complete, reappraisal.
Reappraisal, okay, so, would you like me to describe what we did with the positions? We have customer service positions in that group as well, our front office staff. And, I would like them reclassified. Again, I'll be working with the new HR director. I'm comparing those to the clerk positions and pay scale in the clerk's office, clerk 1 and 2. And our pay ranges would adjust accordingly, not just using the max of the current pay scale.
Smart.
And there's a couple, as you can see, I've got a couple vacant positions right now. That's why I have 3 vacant positions officially, 1 that may become vacant in the future. Next big item is in the, we reduced budget line 521101 to professional consultants. In the last year, 2 years now, we haven't had any appeals, so I've reduced those budgets. So, to kind of reflect our status with any ongoing appeals.
Okay.
I did leave some money in there in that event that we do have appeals this season. The next budget line down went from 60,000 up to 117,000, or 177,000, sorry. The bulk of that is we have our final aerial flight that we committed to, and the overall portion is it's 117,000, of which my portion of it's about 70,000. Exactly, we decided if we wanted to reduce my budget line for just the 70,000.
Well, the total cost of the flight is 117.
Roughly 117.
So that will, when the dust settles, that will likely be distributed or allocated between multiple offices and departments, DSD, elections, the sheriff's office. Total flight cost is 117,000. And you're estimating 70,000 will be your share?
70,000 was my share.
So that could probably, so then you'll distribute that out.
So that 177 will likely come down, distribute that out between the various offices and departments.
If that makes sense. So then it doesn't look like there's any double dipping.
Right, but we want to make sure you're aware of the total
No, I
flight
appreciate that.
cost.
Perfect. And then when you say final, it won't really be final, then we'll do another, because like those aerials are very valuable, so we won't stop doing them, will we?
I hope not, but they're costly. And it's about half of it is my office is the oblique imagery, so it's the angles, and we can spin around and see all 4 sides of a property. And then also we get the ortho, which is valuable to the other departments in the county, but it's the straight down overlook. And going forward, we might every year, every other year, look at doing an ortho, and then maybe every 3 or 4 doing them with the obliques.
Is this in partnership with Compass?
It is not. Compass does not, members of Compass that drive Compass don't seem to be interested in obtaining or taking the quote from the same company that we use.
Why don't you entertain their company? And how much would that cost savings be?
We haven't looked at that since
I'll speak up.
yeah.
Compass, are the people who fly for us establish points, and the points is the most expensive part. And every flight we add more points to ours. And then if you use a different vendor, it's not going to match up with our historical data. We've tried to encourage everybody else to partner in with us and share that cost. But we're not interested in the consistency. Basically, Compass just has the cheapest vendor bid it, and they would coincide with our historical data that we've always established. And then just one last comment. When we said the last flight, that's the last flight within our contract that we had when we originally set up. So it doesn't mean that we'll never fly another one, but that will fulfill our contract.
And then moving forward, is there value in still trying to negotiate with Compass? Because I think the Compass rates are much lower.
Sure, there's more people going in, but I believe that compass rate is just for an ortho, it doesn't include the obliques. So
I think so.
they did, our company was able to put in a bid, but it didn't meet the priority list, I guess, of what Compass was looking for. Ultimately, I think our company was less expensive than the bid they took. They have an established relationship with them, so I kind of get it. But we're talking to other people within Compass. It's been a rocky road with them. But it's an option that we'll look into.
Okay.
For now, we're set on this.
Okay.
So then on the next one that has a substantial change or substantive change is service contracts line item. And the bulk of that line is our Momentum technology, our assessment program, our assessment and assessment administration program. It's our assessment and assessment administration program. They have a standard, I think it's 5 to 7% increase every year. And then on top of that, we are going through the remodel of our public access upgrade. And I'm thinking it'll be finished by the end of this year, this budget year. So if that happens, then we'll back out. I put in $29,000 for my share of the upgrade. Tracy also has a portion that will be built into her budget. So if we get it done sooner, then we can back that $29,000 out also.
I remember your presentation on that online tax payment would be awesome.
Yes, and the simplified, less clunky, easier to maneuver and look at information would go a long ways. We were hoping to get it done before assessment notices went out, but pushed hard but couldn't get it done.
Okay.
Also, I put in a 15% increase in our cost table portion of that. The cost to use the cost tables is going up per parcel. And also, as you all notice, when you drive around, we are adding improved parcels that we're charged for. We aren't charged per bare ground, but we're charged per improved parcel. We're accumulating parcels like crazy in the last couple of years. I believe that's going to continue for a little bit.
Which line is that on?
That's still included in the 5301.
Okay, thank you.
And then we also included $5,000 for access to DSD's software that they're looking at upgrading to. Our rural appraisers look at their software and pull the building permits so they can see the sketch the properties before they get there, and then they just review the characteristics when they get out there. It creates some efficiencies in the workflow.
It's mainly for licensing, so we have permission to use or something.
Then the next budget line, 533307, miscellaneous maintenance and service. There's 3 lines that are kind of tied to this. There's also the county fuel, and then 684,330 is general vehicles. Most of the county departments that go out and inspect properties or go out in the county, they use county vehicles. My appraisal staff has used personal vehicles, and I'd like to switch away from that. I've been in discussion with fleet director, and he recommended that we were going to first start with one department, our rural department. They're the folks that are out and driving out the things and have goats in their car and different situations. So we're looking at using 2 of the older used vehicles out of the current fleet pool, and then we'd like to purchase 1 new vehicle that's similar to what the building department, the building inspectors use. And then he recommended that we put in $8,000 for fuel. He wasn't real sure where we were going to end up with that. And then also $8,000 for maintenance. But I was hoping with the new vehicle, there wouldn't be much maintenance on that every year. But I thought there may be maintenance on older vehicles.
And so, Brian, on that new vehicle, why did you go with the new one as opposed to, I mean, you could get more vehicles if you go used. But
We had to start somewhere. And there's 7 people in that department, and we would split 3 vehicles between all 7 people. So we thought we'd start there, and then if he did have another one, a decent used vehicle, we would look at snagging another used vehicle to get us through. Like every year or so, we buy another new vehicle and get rid of the used one.
okay, so your goal is to get on a rotation of buying new vehicles and have those depreciate out and then rotate them out.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, I think that's correct. Yep.
Okay.
So that's 3 of them, kind of, those are all 3 tied together.
Office furniture, that looks like a change.
Office furniture, yes. So we'd like to get we have 2 inside drop boxes, and we'd like to get 1 that's outside. So I don't know if that's office furniture or not, but that's part of why that one went up. And then we also, the furniture in our office get used quite a bit during PTR season, and it is becoming wiggly and wobbly, and we're wanting to get new furniture to be a little safer for our clientele that are using those chairs primarily.
Actually, and it's Brian on the capital construction contract.
We haven't got there yet.
Okay,
We will, I promise.
okay. Thank you.
Was that sufficient on you? That's primarily the 2 bigger drivers of those. And then litigation fees is the next bigger one, 548014. We contribute to a fund, a litigation fund, and our contribution is $15,000 this year, so we can change that 18 down to 15. I thought I remembered it being 18, but it's actually 15. That fund is
Very, very top.
Oh, that was hidden.
top of page 2.
So that should be 15,
That should be 15.
and we didn't have any this year.
It's a biannual contribution. When there's legislation that has the potential to change valuation methods or exemption statewide, we've successfully used that fund to help us offset our litigation costs. And
So we hire an attorney to, and then how is that different? Like the clerk is paying into IAC for a lobbyist. What's the correlation or the difference between the 2?
Commissioner Van Beek, or Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Van Beek, you did ask this question.
Did it sound like a Commissioner Van B question?
No.
It's all good.
So this fund is specifically set aside for counties to use to access court cases or hire expert witnesses to help them represent their positions all the way valuations happen, or how we value our. We pay that to IAC, but it's a fund within IAC. I believe our contribution that Chris and Zach pay IAC is for salaries for staff to help us lobby on certain.
That's different.
Yeah.
I'm with you now. I know what you're doing.
So, Madam Chair, if there's a large company that is protesting a value,
Yeah.
and that could have implications statewide, Canyon County may hire professionals, appraisals, attorneys, and then we can request reimbursement from this fund
Yeah, through IAC.
through IAC, and we've done that in prior years.
It's very different from what the clerk's doing.
It is different, yes.
Yes, I get it. Okay.
Can I ask a question while we're on that? So is that just you guys contribute to IAC, or is it on behalf of all of us elected officials?
It's my understanding that the clerks conference last year, the clerks organization statewide decided they would acquire the services of a lobbyist specific to clerk election needs.
Perfect. Thank you. We've had some assessor type discussions along that same lines here lately, so makes sense.
Leave ours alone.
Okay, basically the last big one is machinery. So I have the IT, all that component was recommended by IT. Computer group, the 8,000 that's there, we're set to get a multi-functioning printer, have came it's ordered, but we're good. We don't need to replace any of this coming fiscal cycle. So that brings us down to capital construction, and we would like to remodel our front office. We have several of our positions have a desk away from the counter, a desk at the counter. We would like to restructure that where they have one desk. We have more people having the ability to assist customers to come in. And then there's a glass wall in our office. We would like to move that wall to a different location, still keep the wall, but move it. Joe and I's offices are all the way to the back, so stuff's happening at the front, and we don't really have an idea of what's going on up there. So we'd like to remodel and have our offices kind of mid-ship, as I like to call it, and we'll move a conference room up there as well, because my conference room's too small to have all the supervisors in there. We met with Rick several times, and his budget was $50,000 to do that.
So, just a question, instead of creating more conference rooms, we are trying to get Rick to move to a system where we are sharing conference rooms with easy calendaring. Is that an option for you instead of changing your conference room to use either the public meeting room easier or the old DSD conference room?
We kind of do use the other conference rooms. It just depends on the number and the size. And then historically, we've also used the general conference room for meeting with the public during appeals time. So we can kind of break up that. Right now, we're getting how many calls a day? It almost sounds like a call center right around the appraisers handling questions. So we're trying to break them up a little bit and move them around, so that way they can really focus on the client instead of hearing background noises.
Well, I get that, but the conference room, do you need to make changes to the conference room?
So if we move an office up middle, That's almost half the conference room. It's adding, I think, one more wall. And we use mine a bunch, I believe.
And the conference room you're referencing, Brian, is the one that's in your office.
That, yeah, the area within my office, yeah.
And then it's.
Oh. So, okay, that's not a conference room, it's your office.
Well, but it's, it
Well,
becomes
It
a
is,
conference
that's
room.
fine.
Yeah.
It's totally different.
Brian, Joe, Steve Honifreeze, and myself, the
Yes.
treasurer is more than full.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, you should, I was
Sorry.
thinking that you were taking a different room that I didn't know about and trying to make it bigger. It's just making a bigger space. You'll have a room and then create a conference room, or will your office be bigger than what you have now?
might be a little bit bigger, but not primarily. It'll be more rectangular in shape and there'll be two. That table will be bigger. There'll be enough room to put, enough seats around it and still have the dual monitors so we can review multiple things at the same
I'm
time.
tracking you now.
Madam Chair.
How should we be?
So your office will move to the middle, but and the conference room is moving with it, or it will stay at that end, that will become the conference room?
No, it'll move with it.
And so what will happen to your old office then?
That is up in the air at the moment. We're contemplating several moves down the road. That's what will happen with that.
And you hadn't considered making because you've got that pass through with it there, that wouldn't make one big conference room.
There's lots of discussions going on. I don't want to commit to anything at the moment, but Greg's office is awfully small at the moment too when he meets with appraisers.
So you're asking for 50,000 to do renovations to
Do the whole
your
project.
half wing?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it. Got
Because
you
again,
on
the
my board.
purpose of this was just to put it on record, the public can listen to it, and then they can come back and provide comments. Okay, anything else? Is that all of your budgets?
That's my two budgets.
Okay.
Finish on time.
Anything else that clerk would like to add? Or chief deputy?
No, ma'am.
That completes this meeting.
So I can hardly contain myself.
We're live. I'm closing her off.
Oh,
Okay.
so that